It's a sunny day. The gang's all here. Hello, welcome to episode 6 of my knitting podcast. My name is Becky and I am going to be doing a traditional podcast format for you here today. It's been a while, so I've got a lot to get into, but I do have finished objects. I have works in progress. And today, despite my yarn ban for the year, I actually do have some acquisitions as well. So let's get into it. I'm going to skip over what I'm wearing for now. I'll come back to that later on, and we're going to start just with finished objects. So I've been a little bit AWOL, been a little bit off grid, because I've been working on a secret test knit for the Creabea, and I finished it last couple of weeks ago. I can't talk much about it, but it's not a summer knit. So it's not particularly seasonally appropriate for the wonderful weather that we continue to have in Britain, which we all kind of complain about regardless. But what I thought I would talk about a little bit was the yarn that I used. And people who have been watching the podcast before will recognise this from the previous episode. I used the West Knits DK weight merino wool. It's called Tandem. And the colour is Avocado. I described it to somebody as a beautiful sort of Shrek green. And I have been seeing people wearing this colour in jumpers. There's like, off the top of my head, maybe 3 people from my Instagram feed who I have seen wearing a jumper in exactly this colour. And that was like part of it I saw before I decided to make something out of this. But I also very much just independently thought this was amazing. And I feel like I'm going to talk about this next year when the pattern is released in January. And it's going to, like, that colour will have had its moment and it will have passed by. And everyone will be like, come on, that was last year. That was last year that everybody had a Shrek jumper. We're on to something else now. But hopefully this feels timeless, because that finished object is genuinely, I think, one of my favourite things that I've made this year. And I'm really gutted that I can't show it to you right now, because let me tell you, when it comes out, eventually, you're all going to want one. You're absolutely all going to want one. You will notice that I have a full skein of this left. I also have my little West Knits project bag. I also still have a little bit left over of a previous skein as well. This is more, I think, than I've ever had left from a jumper that I've made recently. I feel like I'm quite notorious for leaving it like right up to the wire, thinking, oh yeah, like I can get a jumper out of this tiny bit of tiny like yardage, and then always playing yarn chicken at the end. But this time round, I have too much left. And what's a little bit ironic about this is that, like, I bought this sort of speculatively, thinking, yeah, I wanted to make something out of it, a nice jumper out of it. And I bought 4 skeins of it. Then, recently, I went back to visit my sister in Rotterdam, which, as I have been corrected on, is not a small city in the Netherlands, but in fact a very large city in the Netherlands. And it's really close to Amsterdam, where the Stephen and Penelope shop is. And I went to go visit their new store, and part of my yarn ban rules were pretty much not to buy anything. It was pretty much not to buy anything new at all. And then I thought, if I can get one more skein in just to be able to make that test knit, then that would be like a good use of a good excuse to go to that shop, but also maybe to like get a little bit of a rush of buying something, but then also to do it for a purpose so that I could use that yarn. And actually, I ended up making the test knit a little bit shorter than the pattern called for. So I tend to have everything like a little bit around the waist, a little bit higher. So my torso, I think my torso is standard size. But all of my tops, all of my knits are kind of deliberately just above the hips, like between maybe the waist and the fullest part of the hips. So it never kind of like comes down properly. And for that reason, I ended up having just one skein too many, despite the fact that I bought a 5th skein thinking I would need it. So it just goes to show that my old ways were the best ways. You should always live your life on a whim and a prayer. Never plan, never read the pattern, never, never prepare. That's never plan, never prepare, never read. Life according to Becky. So it's a slightly unsatisfying finished object segment. I wish I could show you what it was. You just have to take this as like a little bit of a preview for next year. Just, bear in mind, it's going to get from me a lot of wear over winter, I imagine. And I already took some finished object pictures that I will share next year when it's still good and fresh avocado, rather than, when the avocado goes slightly off and then it's like a little bit blackened. And I still think it's quite good at that point, as long as you don't go too far. I also have a couple of little shout outs at this point to mention. I was very flattered and very touched to receive a shout out from these 2 YouTubers, both of whom I am now avid followers and watchers of their channels. I can only apologise that it has taken me so long to get to the point where I give them both a shout out back. It's mostly because I'm a little bit awkward. So the first is to Renee from Adventurer Knits, who very kindly gave me a shout out on her channel a few months ago. And since that point, I have been quite literally hooked on all of her videos. They are so calming and so sweet to watch. It's really fun to watch somebody learn from scratch and to come at all of this like with fresh eyes. But it's just kind of remarkable, like how quickly she's doing things that I would consider to be actually super complex. As I say, it's like calming, wholesome, beautiful content, and I love it. So go check her out if you haven't seen her channel already. The second shout out is to Geoff from Losing My Knit, who I have been watching that channel, I think, pretty much since I started mine. I can't remember exactly how I first came across it, but the stuff that he makes is like the vibrancy of it and the texture of the work that he does, like this amazing like blanket that he's been making with like this beautiful version of the Andrea Mowry, I think it's called Trinidad cardigan. Oh God, I've forgotten the name of the cardigan. But the like skill and expertise in what he makes and the humor that he does it with is unparalleled. I love it. It's top-notch content. So I want to say thank you to both of those channels, and I want to give like a big recommendation to anybody who's watching me who hasn't heard of either of them to go and check them both out. And if you find me via either of those shout outs, then you're super welcome here. Thank you. And hopefully I lived up to the recommendation. God. Stressful. Do we go on to works in progress? I think so. Let's do it. Before we do, you might have noticed, you might see this on my hand. I don't just have like mud on my hand, but I took a tumble a couple of days ago when I was out for a run. So I have a big scrape on my hand. I'm not going to show it to you deliberately, but I just wanted to say, just in case you were like, why is she not clean? Yeah, I'm going to spare you looking at it, but you might see my body is in a little bit of a state, I have to say, because we also went for like a long walk the other day, and you might see, but I've got some like absolutely classic British sunburn on my shoulder. It's a stereotype. It's quite embarrassing. Yes, I did sun cream. Yes, I did reapply sun cream. Yes, I did wear layers, but I'm made out of, I'm made out of delicate stuff. I burn quickly. And what's frustrating as well, we were going for a walk along the side of the cliffs, the Seven Sisters walk on the coast. And the sun is all coming at you from one direction. So you're walking like one way for 3-4 hours, and you only get burnt on one side. And I have done this walk now twice, and it has happened both times that I got uneven sunburn. So it's not even symmetrical. Not even symmetrical sunburn. What am I supposed to do with that? Right, works in progress. I'm going to start with closest to being finished. So the first one that I have to show you, this is a sample knit that I'm doing for Qing Fibre. Full disclosure, I am getting paid to knit this, so I'm getting paid to make it up. It is not a crazy amount of money. It's like £40, but I'm not getting paid to like promote it. So everything that I'm talking about here, like my opinions of all of this, is my own entirely. Yeah, they have not asked me to say any of this stuff. I am making for them, it's hopefully going to be quite obvious what it is. You can kind of see it. It's a cross-shoulder bag. It's called the Scrunchie bag. And it's a collaboration between Qing Fibre and Loupy Studio. I've forgotten her actual name, but I will put it up on the screen as I normally do. So you can see there's this element down at the bottom is the sort of bag bit. This is the shoulder strap. And eventually there will be a cord that goes into the strap and around the bag. And that is what the scrunchie bit refers to, in that it will all sort of scrunch up. And you can either do it, I think, as like a little shoulder bag, or you can do it as like a crossbody bag. And yeah, I cast this on 5 days ago. This just needs like an inch longer on the strap, and then the knitting bit will be done. That will take me like 5-10 minutes. And then you connect it up. So you connect the strap bit round, loop the cord through, as I said, and I think you're then pretty much done. I have to give this back, I have to send it back in like 3-4 days. So I don't think I'm going to bother doing like a wet block of this. I think a steam block will be absolutely fine. It's made out of, I'll open this up so you can kind of see the colours a bit more. The changing yarn with the greens, the oranges, the black, that is some Teddy, which is a buckle yarn? Boucle yarn? Please tell me if you actually know how to pronounce this. And you can see it on the cake, that it's like crinkly. It's very textured yarn. It's quite fun to work with. So it's like, it's sort of DK weight. That's the sort of size. And then the other bit, the color for this is called Kraken, if you ask me. The light purple stripe to it is one strand of their dashing fingering and one strand of their melted baby suri, and the colour is the same for both. It's called Thistle, which, as a Scot, I approve. I approve that message. This is going to be a little bit controversial, but to make a bag and need 3 skeins of yarn, I probably would not make it like this if I were just making it. I would probably just use 2 DK weight strands. I think it would be quite a good sort of stash buster project. So what I might do on my Ravelry is put the exact weights of yarn that's needed, so that if you have stuff from stash, then you can think about whether you would make that bag as well. I'm making it direct to the pattern because I'm doing it as a sample knit, but that strap is very adjustable. If you wanted it to be shorter, if you had less yarn, then you could do that as well. And then also in the pattern, it has some suggestions for, obviously it's striped. I think it looks quite good striped, but you could do that with like one strand. You could do it, or you could do it with one color. You could do it with multiple colors. You could do it as a scrappy bag. I think the scrappier, probably the better. So actually, now that I have the pattern, I might end up making myself a little scrappy thing with lots of DK weight yarns. I've got lots of leftover bits of boucle. I will one day learn how to say the word local yarn. I've got loads of little scraps of that from various other projects, so I might just make like a big, messy hunk of bag. I also went on like a little bit of a journey. They sent me the colours for the sample, and at first I was like, you know, you do you, each to their own. I'm sure you know what you want. And then as I was doing it, I was like, you know what? I think this looks nice. I think this looks really good. I think it works. There's also, I don't know if you can directly see it, there's little pops of pink. There's a little pop of pink in the changing black coloured yarn. So it does tie quite nicely in with the more lavender thistle colour. So yeah, I was a convert. As I started knitting it up, I was like, do you know what, this is going to be a nice bag. Kind of wish I was keeping it. There you go. Also, check me out using actual straight knitting needles. Such a stereotype, you know? I haven't used straight needles for a project in a very long time. I would say maybe like 1-2 years I haven't used straight needles in a project. I tend to, even with something that I'm knitting flat, I tend to use interchangeable needle tips on a circular needle. That is because I find that obviously a lot easier to travel with. You're not going to lose one needle. This is also, I bought this is like a pony needle. I bought this probably years ago. I think I probably bought it in John Lewis when I was first learning how to knit, when I was like 10, 11. And it's heavy. It is actually quite heavy. It's not like, most of my interchangeable needle tips are wood. I just prefer wood. But the metal is a lot to carry. And you don't need it to be that long, especially at the stage that I'm at when I'm just doing the strap. You don't need it to be that long. But yeah, for some reason, I was like, if I'm going to knit something flat, I might as well do it on straight needles. So it's been quite fun to do the classic knitting thing. You've got these massive needles, like, a long time ago, I once commissioned a knitting tattoo, and I didn't go through with it because, God bless the artist, I think had probably never seen knitting before in their life. So they made this thing that was like very obviously not a knitted. It didn't look like knitting. It looked like TV knitting, where you're like, oh yeah, like there's 2 needles and there's maybe a granny square. That does not a knitted project make. And I was like, well, I can't have that on my body. It would just bother me, obviously. I feel like I'm like a little bit of a people pleaser. So there was a part of me that was like, oh, maybe I could live with it. And I was like, no, out of everything, this is something that you cannot live with, is a bad knitting tattoo. That's one thing. That's where you draw the line. But I was thinking, as I got that tattoo commissioned, that had 2 straight needles in it. Got that bit right. And I was like, how often do I actually sit and knit with 2 needles? Actually, I think probably what would be more realistic is having that big loop. But it just doesn't look quite the same, does it? It doesn't have quite the same aesthetic value as seeing 2 needles and a knitted piece of work. So yeah, I did not get that tattoo. And I probably won't get a knitting tattoo now. I've seen some really great ones. I do quite like some people have some really great knitting tattoos, but not yet for me. So that's work in progress number 1. Work in progress number 2 is, I mean, if you haven't spotted him already on the screen, allow me to terrify you. This is work in progress number 2. It is, as you can tell, a crochet piece. I haven't shown a crochet work in progress on this channel before. I have shown some crochet finished objects, but yeah, this is my first crochet whip. It's pretty cursed. It is going to be a toy. It's going to be a gift toy for a friend of mine who I don't think is watching. I hope is not watching. If they are watching, then I'm sorry I spoiled the surprise, but actually it's not really for you anyway. It's for your baby, so you can dry your eyes. It is a well-known and beloved children's character. Can't you tell? Very well known in the UK. I actually don't know how internationally known this character is. So I'm not going to say the name of the character, because also I'm kind of interested to see if anybody can guess purely from this half-baked version of it who this little guy is going to be. If you have any guesses, then put them in the comments and I will confirm. And I will show the finished object at some point as well. It's been good to do a crochet project actually, and I wish I was using that kind of velour yarn that people use for toys. This is made up in cotton. The yellow I know is definitely a Paintbox Yarns cotton in mustard. Again, in classic form, I thought I had enough with one 50-gram ball to make this, and he's ended up a lot bigger than I thought he was going to be. So this is all I have left of it. I have to buy some more. The red I'll be all good on, and I think that's also a Paintbox yarn, but I can't remember what the colour is. Obviously, it's going to get some arms, some legs, and if I manage to make this in enough time, then he will also get some little accessories appropriate to his station and to his character in life. But yeah, he does look like fairly cursed. There were moments where he looked more cursed, and there will be moments yet where he will continue to look cursed. But I'm hoping that at the end he'll be super adorable and an appropriate gift for a new little life that is coming into the world. I actually need to get a hustle on because I think the due date is end of September, and it's not taking too long for me to make this, but you know when you need a deadline? And it's not one where you can really push back on that deadline, you know? Although to be fair, like, for a very long time, the baby will not register this whatsoever. So maybe I've got until it's like first birthday. But I don't want to be making something for that long. So yeah, let me know who you think he is. If it's super obvious, I don't know. Loads of people win. If you don't know, if you have no idea, then tell me as well. I would find that interesting. Next, work in progress. This is one that you've seen on the channel before. This is not a new boy. This is an old familiar. Frequent podcast viewers will remember that me and my sister were knitting a pair of socks for my dad, and eagle-eyed viewers will see that that sock is with us here today. So let me show you. This is the Iron Man sock. So the story with this was my dad did the Lakesman half Ironman, which is an absolutely crazy and wild feat of endurance. It's a triathlon event. It's amazing. He did a great job. And we were going to make him a pair of socks to both celebrate his 60th birthday, but also to congratulate him for the event. And yeah, this, doesn't it look great? What a wonderful sock. Well done, Becky, for finishing the sock. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but this is not my one. This is my sister's one. She managed to finish it, and it's great, and it fits, and it's wonderful. Let me show you my sock. Yeah, this is what my one looks like. It actually needs to be frogged basically back up to here. And that is because I tried to put it on and it was far too tight. I couldn't even get it over my foot, let alone my dad with his actually man-sized feet trying to get it into this man-sized sock. So disappointingly and sadly, I had to do some very painful frogging of all of these yarns, and they look very crinkly. And I was asking on Instagram whether I should steam these yarns before reknitting it, and I got a very mixed bag response. A lot of people said yes, you should steam this, and especially because it's color work. And I did do a block hoping that would fix the stretch issue, and honestly I don't think it did. I think it made it worse. But a few people did say yeah, I would steam that before doing it, and I don't know what the best way of doing it is, so if anybody has any advice, I am all ears. I would love to hear it. Otherwise I will do some half-baked research, as is my way, as is my manner, and hopefully not mess it up too much further. But the long shot of this is that unfortunately my dad didn't get his socks for his 60th, which, given that it's summer, maybe is not a huge tragedy, but he is coming in October, and I would really like for them to be finished by then, because otherwise it's just getting a little bit ridiculous, isn't it? We can't keep going like this, guys. You know, it's untenable. You can't just have gifts held back, you know, beautiful knitted gifts held back for years and years just because you want to be making a bag instead. You've got to, at some point, you've got to honour your commitments. I got to honour my commitments. I really wish that I had those socks just to show you side by side, but hopefully next time I film, I'll be able to say, here they are, both blocked, they're finished, they're done, they're beautiful, and we're thrilled with them, and he's thrilled with them. And we'll get a little review from my dad. He'll probably say something like yellow thumbs up emoji and nothing else. That will be his review. So I absolutely raced through works in progress. The only one that I haven't mentioned is the Lanark sweater, and honestly, the less said about that, the better. Those who know, know. So let's get on to acquisitions. I said that I would come back to what I'm wearing. So let me do that really briefly, because there's two parts to this. Obviously, I'm wearing this summer top. This is my Tolsta tank, and I did it as obviously a square neck with the straps. There's a few different versions of it, so I can't remember the exact combination of design features that I chose, but it is a design by the Creabea. It's a very popular design, and I made a slight modification in the sense that I did an I-cord bind off up here and round the hem as well. I really didn't want a rib hem, and then I thought having a rib hem would also look a little bit strange with rib up at the top. I don't know if I would do the same thing again, because this does just curl up despite no end of blocking, constant blocking, hardcore pinning on the mat. I really tried to get the curl to submit, and it was worse, but you can see that it does still naturally want to curl up a little bit. So not sure I'd 100% recommend my modification, but I definitely recommend the top, and I love the top. And if you watched a recent video of mine where I ranked all my summer knits, then you will know that I find it both wearable and also easy to dress. If you haven't checked out that video, please do. I'll put a link somewhere on the screen if I possibly can. But I'm also wearing one other knitted item, and this is where it strays into acquisitions, because I bought the perfect pair of shoes to show off some of my knitted items. So I'm going to show you that right now. I bought myself some spangly, heeled, see-through jelly shoes. Just like an adult version of the ones I had as a kid. And it is the perfect thing to wear my knitted socks in. So I'm wearing my Ode to Barbara socks. I made those last year. That is a pattern by Summerlee Knits, and the yarn that I used was from Indie Yarn Club. It's this beautiful purpley speckled yarn with loads of different colours in it, and if I was holding it up you would see like every colour of the rainbow in it, but the overall vibe is very purpley, very pinky. And I'm going to wear the hell out of these jelly shoes because I'm absolutely sick of knitting socks that no one will ever see inside shoes. I'm sick of it, guys. And we shouldn't have to stand for it. As knitters, we should reclaim seen socks. That's my first acquisition of note. Those beautiful jelly shoes. I am very pleased with them. I think they're great. They're maybe slightly too small to be wearing socks in, and it's maybe slightly too warm to be wearing socks with jelly shoes, but we must suffer a little bit for our art. Just a tiny bit. Not in a serious way. People shouldn't really suffer, obviously. And actually, in the spirit of that, I'm going to take these shoes off because they are really hot. This is like the third podcast where I have shown my feet, and I don't think anyone follows me here for feet content. If you do, I see you and I respect you, and I'm glad I'm catering to your needs. If you are not keen on the feet content, I am sorry that I keep doing it, but I probably won't stop. And then next up in acquisitions, I have some gifts that I got for my birthday. It's a bit of a belated birthday present because my birthday is actually in June, but my parents-in-law very kindly got me some knitting related gifts that I thought I would show off here because they're a bit of fun and I have some plans related to them. The first is my mother-in-law she is also a knitter and she has a lot of yarn. So this is a bit of a hand-me-down from that. It's something that she herself is not going to use because it'll become clear when I show it to you. But it's some Rowan Kid Classic. It is coming up really blue on my screen, but it's actually more of a teal colour. It doesn't have a name for the shade. It's shade 871, which is meaningful to all of you, I'm sure. It's Kid Classic, so it's a mixture of lamb's wool and mohair and a little bit of nylon, but she, I think, found it too scratchy and not something that she wants on her skin, and I probably agree with that. This is not something that I would want to put as like a high neck sort of jumper or cardigan or anything like that. This is probably something that I would have as like an outer wear garment. I think I'm going to make it into a cardigan. That's my vision. Something that I could maybe tuck under a little shirt collar. So with like a little round neck and something where I can roll up the sleeves. So I tend to roll up my sleeves anyway, so I won't have it like too far down. But also I actually don't think I'll mind this next to the skin too much. I think we'll just have to I might knit a swatch and then hold it there and see how that feels. But anyway, I thought this was very lovely. I was very grateful to get this, especially because it's something that I don't think that she was going to use. So it's good that it will get a bit of life. I have 1, 2, I think I counted this before, but I have 9 balls of it and they are all 50 grams, which is obviously 450 grams and 140 meters. So that is 280 over 5. It's kind of embarrassing. Part of my degree is in statistics, so I should be able to do this. Let's call this 9. I know it's fine. Let's call this whatever, it's like 1200 meters of yarn, probably. That's enough to make a cardigan. And especially if I make it a little bit cropped, as I am wont to do. Maybe I'll make something a little bit vintagey with a little beautiful little bib collar thing, a little bit twee, a little bit English countryside, a little bit fussy, maybe a little lace bit to it, something like that. Because actually I think it's quite nice when you've got a dark colour like this, that you do something a little bit with a little bit of holiness in it, a little bit of texture in it, and it's kind of subtle. You don't need to, you'll be able to see whatever you're wearing underneath shining through as well. So there we go, that's my plan for this. I'm excited to have some new yarn. Even though I'm on this yarn ban, I always said if I got gifted yarn, then that counted, that was allowed. We'll just forget about all the other times that I've broken my yarn ban this year. Also, in the acquisitions segment, and also from my lovely mother-in-law, is a book that I got. Yeah, Scandinavian Needlecraft. And this is not a craft that I myself have done before, but it's very appealing. It's very beautiful. So some of these things look incredible. I'm going to try and find some good examples. So here's one that I definitely think I want to make. It is, yes, slippers. Felted wool slippers. That is such a good thing to make, isn't it? I'd absolutely love to do that. And I think what's nice about this as a book and as a craft is that it gives you some really lovely designs to do, but you can do them on anything. So obviously there's, like, for example, there's this bird that is on, I think, a hat that I personally probably would not wear, but I think the bird's quite nice. So the bird could be on my slippers. I'll probably mix and match some different designs on some different garment types and then just see how that goes. There's some stuff for Christmas. So fun. Guys, the in tray is getting quite big. The number of things I want to make and then the time to make the things that I want to make, they have never matched up, but right now, like, things I want to make is up here and time to make it is like there. It is like down there. I just do not have, I wish I had all the time in the world to just spend making like beautiful Scandinavian, beautiful things. Have my whole house just covered in little things like this. I mean, I don't know what my partner would think. Patchwork duvet cover. Yeah. That's my other big acquisition. I think in acquisitions, I've talked about numbers of books that I've had before. So I've got a few books now that are about dyeing yarn. I've got this needlecraft book. I've got like crochet books. I have, as I say, so many crafting books and so little time. And I feel like I keep saying, yeah, I really want to do this as a standalone thing. I really want to do an old 80s knitting pattern as a standalone project. I really want to do needlecraft as a standalone project. I really want to do dye my own yarn as a standalone project. And I honestly don't really know how to tackle any of these things first. And then my to knit and to crochet pile keeps getting longer and longer. And there just doesn't seem to be enough hours in the day to make all the things that I want. So I'm just being so selective about what I make right now. But if anybody would really like to see a video based on one of those new things, like dyeing yarn or the needle felting or anything else that I've mentioned, yikes, then give me a shout and it can be bumped up the list. Honestly, I need somebody to help me make a decision. So you'd be doing me a favour. Anyway, with that, I will say thank you so much for joining me for episode 6 a little bit short and sweet today, I feel, but that's no bad thing. I am looking forward to getting into sweater season. I could do with making some beautiful Fair Isle colourwork things, and I'm looking forward to making a million pumpkins. I'm looking forward to spooky season, and I'm really looking forward to, I gotta be honest, I'm looking forward to Christmas, which is wild to be thinking about Christmas at this point, I know, but we're hosting this year, so we've been doing a lot of thinking about it already, and I am getting ahead of myself a little bit excited about it. I will also say, if this is your first time on the channel, then thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I would love it if you would think about subscribing. I would love it if you considered giving this video a little like, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you very, very soon.